Hello, and welcome to the Patron Q&A for my most recent video on School Zone. As I'm sure you can see, I'm just doing audio this time. I have kind of a lot going on, so I don't have time to set up to film proper. So this is just a much easier way of going about it. Okay, so I specified to patrons that because I excuse me because I made a video on something that's like a little bit more general and that maybe a lot of people don't know about, I just sort of opened it up to more general questions. So I'm gonna run through those now. So Nagusame asks, how do you decide what songs to put in your videos? So I have like a folder in my video kind of master folder that has a whole bunch of songs in it from just like a whole variety of games and stuff that aren't games, organized by like feeling. So, you know, like I have some that are more active, some that are more relaxed, some that are heavier, more contemplative, on the kind of like bittersweet side. So I tend to know what I'm like looking for when I go into something, when I go into a section. I think I tend to switch up songs more than your average video person. I don't really know why, other than that I feel like it's really important for me to kind of let the songs ebb and flow along with the topics I'm talking about. So oftentimes that means you get like a minute or sometimes even like 30 seconds of a given song. And a lot of that just comes down to me bouncing back and forth between different tones and stuff like that. Stucci asks, to counteract my last question, what's your least favorite part of putting video... Wait, I didn't finish answering that question. I had more stuff to say. I'm sorry. I woke up like not that long ago. To continue on to that question about putting music in videos. For this most recent one, I knew going in that I wanted to exclusively use Vocaloid music because I felt like I had a batch of songs in my head that would really fit like how fun School Zone is visually. And I think it came out really well. I think that video is like honestly one of my favorites, even though I think the script is a little on the weak side. Not that I think it's bad, I just think it's very standard. So I'll also, like, because it was such a short video, I was okay with the risk of it getting a copyright strike. Because, you know, then it just goes to the people who wrote the song, ideally, because Vocaloid production, like the songs that I was using are on like a smaller scale, so it wouldn't just be going into some record company's empty wallet, or maybe it would have, but either way, like I wanted to use those songs and I was going to use them no matter what. So Stucci asks, to counteract my last question, what's your least favorite part of putting videos together? It's 100% comping audio. I record my voiceover in chunks, but I record it straight through, and I am very, very bad at reading. I'm very bad at reading, and I'm very, very bad at reading things aloud. I used to get really mortified back in high school anytime it would be my turn to read aloud. One time as a kid, I saw an episode of Little House on the Prairie with my grandma, and it was an episode about like one of the adult characters going to school because he was illiterate and he needed to learn how to read. And the way that he reads at the end of that episode, it's like this big contrived emotional moment. The way that he reads aloud to the class is how I always feel. I that's such a deep cut. I don't think it'll mean anything to anybody. But yeah, so comping audio is a nightmare as a result. It's really tedious. And in addition to that, I do recurring freelance work for another YouTuber who sends me audio to cut down. And then in addition, I do like a sound effects pass because it's an animation channel and music and all that other stuff. And that stuff's fun. But the actual act of cutting down voice over is just like, you know, it's like, since I already do that as like a separate job thing, having to do that for my own videos is just like fucking pulling teeth. OJ asks, this is totally random, but what is your favorite color and why? That's a good question. I like that one. When I was a kid, it was green. I don't know why. I think it's always been kind of arbitrary. I think I'm more of a purple bitch these days. I mean, like, black is kind of the obvious one. So one of the two. I don't know that I can really give a reason, though. I think it is pretty arbitrary. I like colors. I like colors. I like things that are colorful. I also like things that are subdued and monochromatic. It's just kind of what happens to catch my eye. Never End Before says, technically about the previous video, but I was too late to ask, is there a full version of the original composition played at the end of your Mina Age video? Sounds rad. Thank you. No, that was pretty much all that was written of that song, and I just didn't have any ideas for where to take it, so I wound up scrapping it, essentially. I've been working on music a good bit lately. It's felt good, but it's also cutting into time that I'm working on this like gargantuan like hour-long next video. But hey, what are you gonna do? Tara It Up asks, I loved the color compositions in this video. How did you decide what colors to make each panel and each character? So I actually had a lot of the legwork done for me because the manga itself color codes a lot of its characters, kind of loosely and not super consistently, but I kind of just picked and chose from those. I color dropped a lot of the like associated colors, and I kind of made up just like a little background image that I kept under the entire video right up until the end. That I could use to quickly reference. Like I had just kind of like a bunch of like color swatches essentially that I had labeled with each character that it was going to be associated with. And then I would kind of go in and mess with it here and there. It was a little inconsistent for the sake of variety. Like I think I used a few different colors for Hinako, the main Gyaru's friend. But that was, you know... It is it was something that was more of a framework than anything. R asks, top 2 dogs, past and future. I gotta give it to the dog that I grew up with. My mom's dog, who is a year older than me, who's named Mary because she misheard a Nirvana lyric. That dog was ugly as shit and one of my best friends. Though I grew up a dog person, I have matured into a cat person. So I think my number 2 dog, I think I was at the grocery store the other day and I saw just like a bear-sized dog inside of there, just like chilling, just like plopped down, waiting for its owner to like get some meats from the meat area that dog was fucking like, I don't know what kind of dog it was. I'm not very dog literate, but it was fucking tremendous. Really, really good dog. So that's my number 2. Frog Ferns asks, would you say the humor in School Zone Girls is similar to Kiyohiko Azuma's work, i.e. Azumanga Daioh and Yotsuba? I actually don't think I would. I think Azumanga Daioh is very much so like... I think like a lot of the humor is cute, and I don't mean that pejoratively. I think when the Azumanga Daioh girls are dumb, they're dumb in a cute way. I think School Zone is a lot more like over the top and like it's so exaggerated that it transcends the characters being cute to where the joke becomes like, wow, these girls are behaving so ridiculously that like it is difficult to even think of them as cute, which of course in turns, makes them cuter, makes them more appealing. I think that's kind of the primary difference. Sorry, I'm actively getting hydrated as I record this. Tabitha, she whose espresso runs the heavens, asks, if you were to twist School Zone into a different genre, which one would you want to take it to? That's kind of a hard question because I feel like they fit so well in the context that they're in, and it's the kind of story that I already prefer the most, which is like, well, I guess that's not necessarily true. I guess rather like the format that they're in is very perfectly it's very perfectly attuned to who those characters are and the interactions out of them that I want to see. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know that's a boring answer, but that's what I got. Seb asks, will we ever see more of the Witch Pikachu from the video game magazine section of the fan sites video? That Witch Pikachu is so good. I forgot about that until I first read this question. I absolutely adore that Pikachu, and I really want to make that video game magazines video. Video game and anime magazines video, especially after working on the main Naage-cha video and realizing that like it's pretty affordable to get a hold of a lot of those magazines because they were made in such a high quantity that even though a lot of them weren't necessarily like well archived online, it's not too difficult to get a hold of them. I have like almost every issue of Nintendo Power from 2009 clear through when it closed. Nintendo Power was like my magazine growing up. And I have a lot to say about that and about, weird like aughts edgy advertising and like Tips and Tricks magazine and shit like that. The only issue is, for as fun as it was to do the fan sites video, I don't think it performed exceptionally well, which I try not to let dictate my like the topics that I cover. But like, the Flatwoods Monster video and the fan sites video, I believe came out one after the other, and neither of them performed exceptionally well in conjunction. And so I kind of let that be a little bit of a signal that like, at the end of the day, there are certain things that people are coming to my videos for, and that's okay. And that I don't think that sort of like variety thing is quite it. So what that dictates to me is that that's a video that I should hold off on until I literally like cannot think about anything else but working on that video, because then it becomes a thing that I do purely for me, purely because that's where the spark of inspiration comes from. Oh, hi Wander. I don't know if you heard that, but he just jumped up onto my desk. So if you hear any weird snorting or snarking, that's him. He's got little breathing problems. Seth Peacock asks, do you log the media you consume anywhere? If so, how and for what reason? I'd imagine content creators like to have easy references to what they've consumed to trawl for examples, connections for whatever they're working on. So yes, I do. I'm a fucking pain in the ass about it though. I use them in a very particular way that winds up not being especially conducive to that latter point, even though I know for a fact that I would benefit from just logging absolutely everything. Like I wrote a little addendum to the video that I am currently working on. And it kind of required me having like on the fly examples of kind of an array of different anime and manga. And I was like, oh my God, like I can't think of any. Like, what have I seen? What can I vouch for? Which is where, you know, being able to look on my shelf at like the comics, art books, manga, etc., games that I have is useful. But I don't really have much anime. So if I were using my anime list to just catalog everything, that would be the smart way to do it. But I'm a fucking freak. And so every cataloging site that I use, and I use one for just about like everything. I don't have a Goodreads because I don't read enough like text books. I should. That is text books that are primarily text, not textbooks. Jesus Christ. I probably should set that up to catalog the books that I read for research. There was a while where I was reading like one full book per video. That was fucking crazy. I don't know what I was thinking. But yeah, no. I do this thing where when I set the account up, I do not log things that I had seen, watched, played, whatever, before the account was established. So it's kind of like a clean slate thing. And that's because I, generally speaking, like to write a bit about each thing. When I was not making videos, I was using those kinds of sites as like a primary form of writing about media. So it was like, you know, I would go out of my way to write like several paragraphs. Now it's just like a single sentence scribble, like all lowercase, fucking incoherent garbage, which is why I haven't like posted them anywhere, because like it's a lot of me just kind of like jotting down like a single sentence of notes to the friends that I've accrued on those websites. Like my mutuals on some of those sites that I don't necessarily follow elsewhere are like, you know, like people who I like being able to keep in touch with through opinions on things like film, games, manga, etc. So generally speaking, you know, I still like to kind of like let them know I'm alive by writing a bit about each thing that I see, but it's so not in depth that I don't bother to link it anywhere. You know, if I want to properly, I'm sorry if you can hear my stomach growling. Jesus Christ, I came to this unprepared. What the fuck was I saying? Oh yeah, if I wanted to share my opinion on something to like a wider audience, I would just I would post a video about it, or even just like a tweet. please forgive me if I pronounce your name wrong. I'm shooting for the Dragon Ball character. Peter Sicolo asks, can you talk about your tattoos? I'm curious because it looked like you had a Flowers of Evil tattoo on your arm. That is rad. Yes, I do. I have one of those on the inside of my right arm. It's just like the titular Flower of Evil. And then on my left arm, on the inside, I have a tattoo. I have a Brave Little Abacus tattoo. Which gets weirder every day. For anybody who listens to the podcast I do, we had Adam of That Band fame on as a guest, and like he's someone who I've been friends with for a long time, and I have never once made it a point to directly acknowledge the fact that I have that tattoo where he can see it. It's just too weird. Let's see. There's some that I want to get, that I plan on getting in the future, but I'm not like 100% on them. So I'll hold off on regaling any of those ideas, just in case I go back on them in the future. It's basic bitch shit, but I would like an Ava tattoo at some point. Maybe a Berserk one. Like, I'm just listing like the basic like Kino tattoos that every like big brain weeaboo has. But what can I say? Those things are popular for a reason. I just like tattoos with like strong iconography. Like, I think it would be cool to get like a manga panel as a tattoo, but like in general, just like works that have strong iconography, I think generally makes really good tattoos. Crumple Hat asks, what inspired you to feature Jamaican Pikachu so heavily in your interludes? So Pat Mac, greatest YouTuber of all time, made a video about Jamaican Pikachu once, and that just completely filled my brain with worms. I fucking love that little guy. I think he's so cute. I think he's so funny. That's literally it. I literally just like looking at him. It's the same way I use that picture of the Harvest Moon chicken plush, where it has like the little chick next to it, and the Harvest Moon cow. I literally just think they're cute. They make me happy to look at. Disaster Fashions asks, what's your favorite guitar chord or scale or tuning? I meant to figure this out beforehand. Hold on. I don't want to look like a fucking idiot. Which one is it? Am I thinking of the right one? No, I'm not. I think I must be... Am I thinking of... Oh god. It's been a while since I've thought much about theory, I won't lie. Fuck. What mode is it where it's the same as a major scale, but it's got a a lowered seventh, where it's got a flattened seventh? That's not Lydian, is it? I don't think so. I thought it was Mixolydian, but I'm looking at scale charts and I don't see it either. Whatever, I'm sure someone will know. It doesn't matter. I just like how that sounds. I tend to... the thing is, a lot of my songs, especially if I'm writing in an open... Well, just kind of in general, not just if I'm writing in an open tuning. I do this thing where my songs wind up completely like under my nose, switching a lot between the whatever my like root key is, and then it'll just sort of modulate to a key where the fourth or fifth becomes the tonic. and it's just totally based on what feels right. I guarantee there are people with more theory knowledge than me who would notice it every time it happens. But it's all just kind of centered on what like riffs or chord progressions stand out to me. And I tend not to think too much about it as I'm writing these days, unless I actively know like I want to spice things up by making like a more deliberate key change or by modulating outside of the key. Favorite tuning? I don't remember what this fucking tuning is, but I've been working with it for. I'm a fucking maniac. The Twinkle Park song that I'm working on right now. Both guitars are in two different tunings. I don't know why I did that. I guess I just thought it would be a fun challenge. There's a left guitar, like a left channel guitar and a right channel guitar. That's one's doing lead, one's doing rhythm, and they're both in different tunings. And one of them is tuned to this, and I think that's very pretty. I want to say it's like it might just be a major 7. Yeah, it definitely is. I like this tuning because if you just strum it open, it sounds really nice. And then if you go to the 5th fret and you just fret the first 3 strings, you get that nice tension. I like how that sounds. But then, you know, if you also just bar the entire fret, it's a little out of tune. That also sounds good. Yeah, that sounds like super out of tune. That's okay. The other guitar is in like a very similar tuning. I don't know if this is interesting to literally anybody. It is very, very possible that this just sucks. It's like way back there. My guitars are in kind of a shitty place to get to, but that sounds like hell. That sounds like hell from here. It's also out of tune, but yeah, they're in two different tunings. I want to say the other one is in like a sus2 tuning. Maybe it's a sus4. I don't fucking know. I used to have theory brain, but I work a lot more on impulse now with like the bits and pieces of theory that I remember. And I found that that's proven pretty well for me. I think in general, my ears gravitate to things that feel a little bit more spontaneous anyway, so that's that. Layla Autumn asks, will there ever be lyrics posted for your Vocaloid music? I adore your musical works just as much as your video essays, and was wondering if the lyrics for the albums you've released are out there. If there are any plans for them to be. Sometimes I have trouble making out some of the lines. That is intentional. Lately I've found a lot of comfort and sort of artistic safety in not being able to be understood. I've come to appreciate how opaque Vocaloid sounds. So I will probably continue to not post the lyrics. They're just for me. I'm sorry. Especially because, like, you know, as video is sort of what has taken off for me. I've really come to find that I appreciate the like being able to make Twinkle Park something that is purely for me, purely self-indulgent, because I don't really need to worry about how anybody else is going to take to it one way or the other. So let's see here. Ali Motamed asks, what was your journey with music? How did you grow to be so passionate about it? I mean, that's such a big topic that I could, you know, make a whole video out of it, make a whole podcast out of it. But the TLDR is that I didn't really care about music for a long time. And then, you know, like, I think like anybody else in my age range, I think this is especially true of people who are a little bit younger than me, but the music that I was exposed to up until this point was pretty minimal. Or, you know, the music that grabbed me that I was exposed to was pretty minimal, because I grew up listening almost exclusively to pop country, because that was what my mom would put on, because she didn't want me singing along to songs with cuss words in them. So she was like, oh, well, this is a safe bet. The downside is that I didn't think that I liked music for a very long time, but the upside is that I have a tremendous soft spot for the Dixie Chicks. So it all works out. But yeah, you know, like, I think it was honestly like a combination of like Guitar Hero and having access to YouTube memes that had like very catchy songs in them that wound up helping me. I think it was around that time, maybe a little bit after that Kesha's TikTok came out. That is earnestly one of my favorite songs ever. I adore Kesha. She was like, I think that song was catchy in and like very exciting to me in such a way that like that was kind of the point at which I had to go like, look, like, I really, really enjoy this, even though it's like pop music and my peers are telling me that that's like fucking cringe or whatever. I didn't start playing any instruments until I was 17, which I think is kind of late for a lot of people around my age. Like, most of my friends had been writing songs since like they were 14, so I felt like a late bloomer in that regard. But once I had picked up an instrument, you know, it was as simple as a friend of mine saying, hey, we need someone who plays bass. Here's a bass. Learn how to play bass. And I went, word, okay. You know, I've been learning guitar. I've been getting okay at that. Let me try to transfer those skills over. And then, you know, I did what I could. And before I knew it, I was playing bass in a band with some friends for years and years. So that, you know, in turn, I just kind of accidentally fell into recording for all of my friends' bands, because I knew I was the only person in the scene who knew how to do that. Oh, well, not in the scene, I shouldn't say that. I was the only person in my like immediate friend group who knew anything about recording. So I kind of was teaching myself on the job, so to speak, to fill in those gaps while we were recording. So it's all kind of just been me falling into things that I was already passionate about to a degree, and kind of coming out the other side even more passionate about them. Let's see. Celeste Menagel asks, when covering such niche topics, do you typically prefer to make videos on recommendations or things you've stumbled across or actively looked for yourself? I'm assuming this is sort of comparing and contrasting making videos where I'm telling somebody that they should watch or read or whatever a thing, versus things where I'm sort of explaining that something exists. And it's definitely 100% the latter. I don't really enjoy making videos where I just say, hey, this thing is good. I'll do it if it's something that I feel passionately about and that I think I could make into like a good video. I would not have made a video on School Zone if I didn't have the idea to color those color pages like that. I can tell you that right now. That video would not have come out. But you know, I had a strong vision for the editing of that video, so I built a video around it. Generally speaking, I much prefer sort of explaining things, explaining why things are a certain way, explaining what makes a certain thing compelling to me or interesting, explaining what I like about a given piece of media is much more secondary to me versus saying, yo, look at this weird thing that exists. Like, I think my Mina Age How video is my favorite video I've made. I feel like saying the Elfen Lied video is a given. But as far as like stuff that I have made a little bit more currently, the Mina Agecha video is absolutely my favorite, and I think the work that I put into it shows, and I think that is what makes me feel proud of it, above all else. And then like in addition, like the next like long video that I'm working on that isn't this VHS one is a lot more about explaining the context of a piece of work and sort of comparing it and contrasting it to its peers. And I find that kind of thing to be a lot of fun. I think I get really excited about breaking down cultural and historical context. So whenever I can do that, I generally have a lot more fun writing a script. Other Cat asks, what would you say is your all-time favorite Yuri manga? If it's School Zone, then other than School Zone. And also, what's the adorable chicken plush that you use in your videos, and where can I buy it? So, I alluded to it earlier, but it's a Harvest Moon chicken plush, and they're still available new online. I don't know if it's just like new old stock or what, but I got one for like $15, I think. And I adore that thing. As for my all-time favorite Yuri, it's hard because I feel like there was a time in my life where I was reading a lot more Yuri than I do now. And I don't really remember a lot of them. Oh, duh. Jesus, duh. Oh my god. How could I forget? My favorite Yuri mangaka is Yamaji Ebine. She's absolutely my favorite. She's a josei mangaka, and I think her shit is just really tremendous. Very, very, very special. It's kind of difficult to articulate how. I was planning to make a video on her stuff one day, but I don't know if I'll do that. Maybe if I get like a really particular bug up my ass, I'll go back to it. But yeah, no, like her stuff is very, very naturalistic. It's very down to earth and sort of like procedural isn't the right word, but it's very easygoing. No, the pace is very, very like. See, this is why I need to write a script before I recommend things. Stuff just kind of happens, and it feels very organic, and it feels very real, and it feels very human. I think her works are very, very empathetic, and I think that her shit is really special. Shilfero asks, what kind of question would you ask a YouTuber who makes hyper-specific content that you're into? I don't really know that I have much to ask that isn't like very, very specific, you know, like to the creator, to the video specific. I don't really know that there are too many questions that I have for, like, I don't really have very much drive to speak to people whose work I like, just kind of in general. Bless you, darling.
Time for me to stomp around and make a bunch of noise.
That's complete.
Filming video.
That's completely fine. No, I'm not filming. It's just audio. Adam Saunders asks, have you found yourself reading more manga or web manga recently? Any other good web manga recommendations? I've been slowly catching up on Dan Da Dan. I like that a lot. I really like the scanlation by, I think they're called Pair of Two. I think it's a really, really well punched up localization that I'm like really impressed by. Everything else I've been reading is kind of just like not really worth recommending. Like it's kind of just like a lot of trash, and that's fine. But you know, a lot of the stuff that I engage with is that sort of thing where I have to be like, well, here's like a million warnings up front, and that doesn't feel worth doing unless I'm gonna make a video on something. I feel like it sounds like I'm like hoarding away all of my ideas. Like, no, I won't. You gotta watch a whole video of mine if you're gonna get a recommendation out of me. But no, more than anything, it's just because I'm unconfident in my ability to sell something unless it's in a scripted format. Arlay asks, you mentioned in your Elfen Lied video that you struggle to watch things you like. Does that extend to manga too? Absolutely. Unless I get like really sucked into something and read it all in like a single sitting, I kind of have to force myself to sit down and actually read a chapter of something. It's just how it is. I've gotten better at it, I will say. I've gotten a lot better at engaging with media since I've started up doing videos again, but it can still be a struggle. Benjamin David Zoller Brown asks, I'm curious about why comments are turned off on the Moral Oral video. Was that a personal decision, or did YouTube see a cute cartoon character in the thumbnail and turn comments off in an effort to protect the children? No, I don't think YouTube does that. I think they would just demonetize the video. But I also don't think their algorithm is like out here recognizing cartoon characters. No, I turned the comments off because that video got picked up by the in the recommended videos of just like a compilation of clips of the series. So it very clearly got a bunch of people who were nostalgic for the series. It got their eyes on it. And while the comments were generally pretty positive, it was a lot of like, you know, your typical like Rick and Morty, like Adult Swim guy types who were like, I think you're looking way too much into this cartoon. It's clearly about how organized religion is bad and not about anything else, because a piece of media can only be about one thing. And you know, like that's an old video. Like I'm not especially proud of it anymore, and it wasn't a fight that I thought was worth fighting. Botology asks, could you say a little more about Miyazaki's attitude toward his workers? I've been a big fan, and his works have affected me. I'm troubled by his attitude. I'm honestly not. I'm not super familiar, admittedly. I know what Mamoru Oshii has said about him. That interview is linked in my sources list in the description of my Vlad Love video. But you know, aside from that, like you look at Miyazaki's work ethic, and I think it becomes pretty clear pretty fast that is what is expected of Ghibli staff. Maybe to a slightly lesser extent, but like that's a man who, I think Mamoru Oshii, I don't think I shared this quote exactly, but like he says like Miyazaki and Takahata only enjoy working. Like they don't even enjoy eating. There are no good restaurants around the Ghibli studio. And I think that's pretty endemic of their sort of approach to work, which is very like it's not the right term, but it's very like brutalist. Lays Dog asks, how did you do the color tricks for the video? It looked better than any video on manga I've ever seen. I need to know how to do it in Premiere. Also, underrated was the rhythm of the video was A+. I immediately read the series afterwards. Thank you. I'm really happy that you feel that way. I try to do, like, it just kind of winds up where, like, I'll put a song in to my Premiere project, and I'll just kind of, like, immediately start kind of grooving to it a little bit. I'll want to drop in clips that are synced, even if they're not directly synced to my my narration. Just because like I think that's like more fun. The section where I'm talking about Carmilla in my Vlad Love video is one of my favorite examples of that. Same goes for the stuff in this School Zone video, which was very deliberate. In particular, I like knew the songs that I wanted to put in there before I dropped them in, so I kind of knew that I wanted to edit around some of those songs. And as for the color tricks, I just made a bunch of color mats, and I painstakingly, like lasso tool, cropped them out into the shapes of any given character, and then I set them all to blending layers that I think were set on, what was it? God damn it. I think it was Multiply, or maybe it was Screen. Yeah, I want to say it was Screen. I set them all to Screen, and that was how I got that effect. Generally speaking, like when I'd make a color mat, I'd need to also drop HSL and brightness contrast editors on there to get the image to be a bit clearer. I really struggled with yellows. I had to make them more like golden than I was hoping to have to, for the sake of clarity. Elias Rosner asks, how does the production for a video focusing on manga different from ones on anime? Is it longer, more difficult, or just a different beast? It's absolutely longer and more difficult. It can get really tedious, but I enjoy it on the whole a lot more than just like skimming for clips and dropping them into a timeline. I had a lot of fun with the production of the School Zone video because it was so easy to just read through. Like, I think I wound up reading that whole series like 3 times in total while working on that video, in addition to the once-over that I had given it initially, which allowed me to say, like, okay, I want this chapter. I know this is in the 4th volume. Or rather, like, will be compiled in the 4th volume. And so, you know, I could kind of seek that out and go, okay, here's this exact panel that I had in mind without too much effort. But when I was working on something like the Okumo-chan video, I had a lot of trouble finding the specific instances that I was thinking of for when certain things happened. Because so many of the moments that I was talking about were like single panels within an unrelated chapter that I thought really stood out or contrasted something about the work's tone in an interesting way. But in general, like making manga panels visually interesting to look at, making them move, making them pop is a lot of fun in the same way that like solving a puzzle is fun, you know, like ideally, you know, once you're finished with the puzzle, it's not about getting to look at the image because you could just print out a JPEG. It's about the process of putting it together that makes it rewarding. So that's generally how I'd put it. I think if it makes sense, like making a video about anime at its worst is monotonous. Making a video about manga at its worst is tedious. It's a subtle difference, but hopefully that makes sense. Danny D asks, thoughts on Tokyo Ghoul? I figure it's in a similar vein to Elfen Lied. I have not read Tokyo Ghoul. I think the Donald Trump Tokyo Ghoul meme is very, very funny. That's all I know about it. I feel like the ship has maybe sailed on it for me, but I feel like I would get something out of it under the right set of circumstances. Bat Flashes asks, Oh, that was a question that I already answered elsewhere. Essentially a variation on recommendations for other Yuri manga. Thank you for your question, though. Jordan Bronner asks, I suppose comments, I showed School Zone to my girlfriend, and we love it now. It's nice to see positive depictions of people being cute and dumb, which is what we are. Yeah, I agree. Same here. I really like how like actually like over the like I mean, you know, I talked about it in the video, but I really enjoy how over the top the girls are, and how their interiority isn't challenged for it, but it also doesn't feel like they shift from like modes where they're like jokes only to modes where they're more serious. Like to go back to Moral Oral as a weird example, I think a lot of comedy can run into this issue where their characters will break the kinds of things that their characters would do for the sake of a joke, or for the sake of making some kind of broader point. And I think that a lot of times that comes off very like that creates a lot of tonal dissonance when we go back to the things that are more down to earth. So like with Moral Oral in particular, the Reverend is like the kind of prime example of that, where like throughout the series you see him being like all sorts of different terrible things, and saying things that obviously don't align with how clearly thoughtful he actually is in moments that kind of require it. So it's sort of difficult to pinpoint like, okay, well, I mean, it's easy to pinpoint, but you kind of have to actively pinpoint like, okay, what's the character and what's the joke? And I think that School Zone does a really good job of not ever betraying anything about its characters for the sake of a joke. Yeah. So that's that. That's my thoughts on School Zone. That's this Q&A. Thank you all for asking these questions. I had a lot of fun recording this. I'm gonna edit it and throw it up tomorrow, I think, is when I do that. I think I do it a week after. I'm gonna edit a podcast. Well, I'm gonna eat and then I'm gonna edit a podcast. So I'm going to go. Thank you all so much.